Thank you for having us today. Yes, we're all aware that you're contesting for the presidential election come 2019.
That's correct.
Can you tell us what your plans are for Nigerians?
So we have plenty of plans, but we have not unleashed them comprehensively yet because they keep on undergoing a lot of reforms and development, because we are looking at a lot of areas. We are working with a lot of experts who are completely volunteering for us. But the first starting point for Nigerians is to understand that we have this thing we call SPICER, E-H-E. SPICER meaning that our focus will be to stop the bloodletting in the country through security, addressing a comprehensive security, national security system or issue, and then followed by power. There's no way we're moving economically anywhere without resolving the power issue, so that we'll be able to unleash the creative power of the Nigerian person. And all they need is just have electricity, and you see a lot of things happening. And we have infrastructure, and that is to turn the Nigerian nation earth to a construction site where we're building power lines, bridges, roads. We are building sewage systems that would just help to take the infrastructural situation of the country from what it is now in doldrums to something that at least is equitable with what is obtainable in African countries that are doing well, i.e. South Africa, Ghana. Because when we talk about infrastructure and you talk about the US, people just think like, oh, you're talking about El Dorado, and it's not going to happen around here. And the C in this acronym is corruption. I don't need to convince anybody that I can fight corruption. I've been doing that for a long time, since I was in college, and most importantly in the last 12 years on Sahara Reporters. I laugh when I see PDP have a corruption list and APC have a corruption list. They probably copied it from our website. So I have a dossier of all these people, and we know what to do to make them stop being corrupt. But also very importantly is to be proactive about corruption. It's actually very difficult to fight corruption after the deed has been done. But technology can solve a lot of problems in such a way that you can prevent people from stealing before they get to steal. Because the moment they steal, then they can hire the senior advocates of Nigeria, lawyers, bribe judges, and make it impossible for you to even retrieve, even though you might get to punish them a bit or embarrass them. So there has to be we have a comprehensive policy, using technology to prevent corruption before they happen. Because next one is economy. We know that it's very important to make sure that the Nigerian economy is functioning, except that we are not going to do the Nigerian economy according to the Washington consensus alone, which says that you must punish poor people so that you can make people rich. That's what informed the situation that made Jonathan to feel that an economy is working if you have people riding around in private jets, as opposed to an economy that supports, small businesses, be able to support people to be able to send their kids to school, afford medicine, water, and those basic things of life. And how do we intend to ginger the economy? Is to make the minimum wage to be at par with living wage for a start. One of it is to increase minimum wage, from what it is now, the miserable 18,000 naira, which is unconscionable really, to 100,000 as a start. And we've looked at it and found out that Nigeria has about 1 million civil servants, including police, army, and the rest of them. And if we increase it, 70% of that population, if we increase to 100,000, and of course that's prorated to include, as people are paid now, you have to increase it by them. But 70% is our first target of civil service. We will only be adding 1.2 trillion naira to Nigerian wage bill. But that's less than what AMCON is absorbing from business people who went and recklessly borrowed money and never paid back. And we are now paying it. It's less than what we are taking out of the country, through corruption. $5 billion is what is stolen from Nigeria, conservatively from corrupt officials. Also, to pay appropriately, we have to purge the federal government workers. You know, we found out that 21% of the so-called workers are ghost workers. You found out that the police just ejected 80% of that. So if you go through all the MDAs, you find out that almost 21 to 30% of them don't exist. Technology can do that for you easily. You know, it just makes sure that everybody that is a civil servant has a chip. It's just like now, you cannot go to the ATM and collect money from another person's account because you have a chip that identifies you, you have a PIN number. We do that. It's as simple as that. If you are not able to get to the ATM or to collect the money from the bank, you can't be paid. So you pay directly into your account, verifiable account that's linked with BVN. These guys try to do it. They even had TSA, but because they are so weak, now NNPC, like a lot of NNPC accounts are exempted from the TSA, and all of their revenue agencies have exemptions that is killing the country. So think about it. Still talking about the economy. Look at what they said they generated from the FRS, the customs and MPA, even JAMB, EFCC. If you combine those agencies together, we have already paid for last year's budget. They said we raised about $8 trillion naira from those agencies. How come we are not seeing the developments that they promised in the budget? Because these guys are incompetent people. They're mediocres. They can't take the country to the next level. The last thing that is very important, which tallies with the agitation of Nigerian people, is restructuring. You know, people want to see devolution of power. But here is where I have a problem, and I'm not afraid to say it. I do not believe that the people who are proposing restructuring now are honest. And that's why that the first restructuring that has to happen in Nigeria is an economic restructuring of the country, where people actually enjoy the resources of their country. And then we can then come and discuss, you know, how much power needs to go to the states. Right now, the states have powers that they are abusing. The governments are just interested, or governors, for example, they are able to collect 300 million naira for security votes, but they don't pay workers. And you have to think about it comprehensively, that if you are saying as a state that you want more powers, what powers do you need? And how can you leverage that power, the responsibilities that will come with it? For example, I'm totally in support of state police, but you have to worry that people are not paying teachers, may also not pay police. And there's nothing more dangerous than an armed uniformed man who is not paid, who doesn't have money in his pocket. They will just turn to an armed robber, as we are seeing with the police today. So these things have to be addressed comprehensively first. And then we can have a discussion around changing the constitution to accommodate all these things. We have to keep talking to ourselves. For example, I have a proposal that can also go into that mix. I want to abolish the Senate. It's this burdensome, total waste of space, Senate. It's the coven of thieves, of former governors. That's where they retire.
Why do you think so? Who will make the law?
You know, that's what I'm saying. We can do it via referendum. They did it in Senegal. They don't have a Senate. The people of South Korea don't have a Senate.
Don't you think we should rather go for either one of the two?
That's what I'm saying. Senate is different. That's what I'm saying. The Senate is the top. See, there are 106 senators in Nigeria.
So
Nigeria's
universal.
No, I would support that we have a House of Representatives.
I mean, bicameral, I mean.
No, I want a unicameral. I'm in support of a unicameral. Even a unicameral should be part-time. So if you don't come to work, you don't get paid. You know, it should not be your career to be a lawmaker that is taking home 13 million naira every month.
So why do you think we should abolish the Senate, as we know?
It's just unnecessary burden. You know, the Senate spends about almost $1 trillion naira. Don't worry, you'll be fine. They spend almost, they cost us almost if not more than $1 trillion naira every year, just to maintain both houses, National Assembly. If we get rid of the Senate, we get rid of most of it. I mean, look, let me give you an example. The US has 320 million people and a 20 trillion economy, but they only have 100 senators. Nigeria has 180 million people and a $30 billion economy. They have 106 senators. Doesn't make sense.
They're telling me they have to round up. So security is a serious issue in Nigeria. And what can you say quickly? Like, what are you going to do? What difference are you going to make? Looking at the menace, this Boko Haram menace that has been going on.
The police, the army, those very sensitive security agencies that are responsible for protecting Nigerians, they are very corrupt. You know that we're the first to expose the chief of army staff, right, for buying houses in Dubai and using an army colonel to deposit the money at First Group. If you retain him there, what do you think he will continue to do? He will continue stealing. The reason why Boko Haram couldn't be fought under Jonathan was because the generals were feeding fat on Boko Haram. Now under Buhari, the same thing is happening. Generals and the DSS, all of them are playing the game of paying ransom to Boko Haram. How do you expect Boko Haram to end? You have to get rid of all these big, fat generals who are feeding fat on the system and reform the police and pay the police properly. You cannot expect the police to perform optimally at the current pay grade that they have. A president who understands that to happen. When you talk about the biggest problem we have now are headsmen, right? But the reason headsmen are emboldened is because somebody at the top is encouraging them. There's no question about it. Danjuma has come to say it openly that the army is taking side. He knows what he's saying. The only way you can stop that army man from encouraging herdsmen is to get rid of Buhari, who is their grandfather. So as long as you don't get rid of him, those soldiers who are his boys, who are encouraging herdsmen, will keep encouraging them and the bloodletting will not stop. But it's not only in Benue and Plateau that we have bloodletting. We also have in Zamfara. The other day, armed robbers killed 50 people in Offa. Nobody showed up. Do you know why? Because the corrupt Megiddo there, the money that was released years ago for them to buy APC, they shared it, and they are the one they are using to defend the Senate president in his CCT trial. All of these are connected, you understand? So you have to just overhaul the security architecture of this country, make sure that nobody is taking sides with criminals, and as soon as you have a president who doesn't take sides with criminals, you can never have a police IG that is taking sides with criminals, or an army GOC that is taking sides with criminals, or the chief of army staff that is himself corrupt. As long as you have these elements within the system, there's no way the Boko Haram war could have ended. BBC reported that they almost caught Shekau. This is not, it's not Sahara reporters, but they were asked to stand down 5 kilometers from him because they don't want to kill him. As soon as they kill him, the war will be over. There won't be, freebies anymore for the generals. And I'm not afraid to say, until we reform the security architecture, until we don't have a biased national security network, we cannot solve the problem of crime. We can't solve the problem. We can't solve any problem. Yes.
You talk about this, which is your
natural constituency. Yes.
Generally, the Nigerian youth, I know you've been clamoring, but we have bigger population and all of that.
Yes.
How are you going to help them, or what message do you have for the Nigerian youth?
What do you think? The people that are going to be working when I turn Nigeria into a construction site are young people. We have an education policy that we are putting in place, and we are looking at the universities, and we want to invest $50,000 on every young person. I have made the public pronouncement that if you are doing NYC, there are 300,000. There are about 300,000 NYC people. If you are doing NYC, we'll pay you 50,000 naira. If anything happens to you during the year of service, you get 10 million naira. They are young people, like you're talking about youth. And people ask me, how are you going to pay NYC 50,000 and not have inflation in society? Let me give you an example. I come from Niger Delta region. There are 30,000 militants, so-called, that are under amnesty. They are receiving 135,000 naira per month from the federal government. They don't do anything. They just wake up. Some of them go and smoke, drink. They come back at the end of the month for doing nothing, just being militants, carrying guns against the federal government of Nigeria, insurrection. They are getting paid. So how is it then impossible to pay a guy who is ready to risk his life to go and be a teacher and mold the future of kids as NYC? How is it impossible to pay them 50,000 naira?
But youth, I wanted to to talk more on the issue of about Nigerian youth and all that, you need to really what message do you? I mean,
no. Okay. So the message I have for them is that it's very simple. Every time politicians in this country want to rig election, they use you. When they want to go and carry out assassination, they use you. When they want to go and carry out ballot boxes, they use you. I've asked and urged the youth to just withdraw their services and act in what I call self-enlightened interests. I was on a show today, and on our way to the show, I was listening to the song of Pink, What About Us? I want everybody to listen to that song, you know. And it talks about how these adults have been fooling us, how they sold us down the river. And it recently say, what about us? What about the love they promised us? What about the care they promised us? Where is all of that? And the moment you cannot find a semblance of what they promised you, just withdraw your services. 2019, please also, they should get their PVC. The most potent weapon that will be stronger than AK-47 is PVC in 2019. And the moment we do what is right, you know, they get conscious enough, because I see a lot of them on Twitter, and when you ask them, do you have PVC, they don't. Some of them think they are too big to have PVC, or that having a PVC is not cool. Let them jettison all of that. Get their PVC ready. There are almost 75 million young people who have reached the voting age. If they all vote in 2019, that means we'll have 75 million votes for their candidate. In fact, if the youths can vote or can endorse a candidate, the candidate don't need to print a poster. The transition program will be so short that they will see the handwriting on the wall, but Buhari would say he's not even doing anymore, whomever is the candidate of the other major political legacy parties. So,
do you think you can win the elections?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think I can win an election. I know I will win the election.
How are you going to?
I just told you.
The political party, which political party?
We are working on a coalition. All the political parties that are major political parties today in Nigeria were formed through coalition of parties since 1999. So we are going to do the same thing.
Thank you.
And they will lose so bad, you feel sorry for them. Thank you.